This video will discuss parts of a flower and pollination. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify the parts of a flower. Flowers are the reproductive organs of the plant. Plants that reproduce sexually have flowers, whether they are traditional or non-traditional flowers. Plants that reproduce asexually do not have flowers. There are male flowers, which are flowers with only male reproductive parts. There are also female flowers, which are flowers with only female reproductive parts. However, most flowers have both male and female reproductive parts. There are many components of a flower. Take a moment to look at this diagram to start learning some of the parts of a flower. The female part of the flower is known as the pistil. The pistil may be composed of one or more carpels. The pistil is made up of the stigma, style, ovary, and ovule. The pistil is typically found in the center of the flower. At the top of the pistil, you will find the stigma. Holding up the stigma, you will find the style. The style connects to the ovary, which contains one or more ovules. The male part of the flower is called the stamen. The stamen consists of the anther and the filament. The stamen typically surround the pistil. At the top of the stamen, you will find the anther, which produces pollen. The anther is held up by the filament. The flower is attached to the stem at the pedicel. At the bottom of the flower, you will notice sepals, which are leaf-like structures that protect the flower bud. The receptacle is the bottom of the flower. Petals surround the flower. Together, the petals are known as the corolla. Petals are brightly colored to attract pollinators. The female reproductive organ is known as the carpel. The pistil may contain one or more carpels. At the top of the pistil, you will find the stigma. Holding up the stigma, you will find the style. A pollen tube runs through the style to the ovary. The ovary contains one or more ovules. The male reproductive organ is the stamen. The stamen contains an anther, which produces pollen, held up by a filament. The purpose of a flower is to be a reproductive organ. This means we need to take a female gamete and join it with a male gamete. In other words, pollen grains must make it to an ovule to make a seed. Pollen grains on the anther enter the pistil through the stigma. They travel through the pollen tube in the style into the ovule, where they join or merge with an ovule, creating a seed. How does the pollen get from the anther to the stigma? This is typically done by insects such as bees, the wind, and vertebrate animals such as hummingbirds and bats. Flowers have bright or brilliantly colored petals to attract pollinators. This is one of their adaptations. Another adaptation is that they secrete nectar. Insects and other animals drink nectar as a food source. The benefits of having bright or brilliantly colored flowers and secreting nectar is that they attract pollinators. Pollen is attracted to pollinators as they drink nectar and spread it from the anther to the stigma. The pollen may be spread in the same flower or to different flowers. Bees are particularly adept at pollination. This is because bees like to work one type of flower for days until they have harvested all of the nectar. This ensures that the flowers are well pollinated and means that bees are great for pollination of crops. Take a moment to look at this diagram and quiz yourself on the parts of a flower. Hopefully you were able to identify all of the parts of a flower. Here are the answers. I hope this video helped you achieve the goals of identifying the parts of the flower and learning about pollination.